You know that feeling when you're driving late at night and the road seems to stretch on forever? That's where this story begins. But I need you to understand something right off the bat. What I'm about to tell you isn't some made-up campfire tale. This happened to me and I'm still trying to make sense of it. It was a Tuesday night, or maybe early Wednesday morning. I'd been driving for hours, making my way back home after visiting my sister in Colorado. The plan was to power through, catch a few hours of sleep at a rest stop, and then finish the drive. Simple enough, right? I'd just crossed into eastern Utah when I noticed my gas gauge dipping dangerously low. The GPS on my phone showed the next town was still about 30 miles away. Shit. I started scanning the roadside, praying I'd see a sign for a gas station soon. That's when I saw it. A small illuminated sign for Roy's Gas and Go just ahead. I let out a sigh of relief and pulled off the highway. The place looked deserted, just a single pump and a small convenience store with flickering fluorescent lights. But beggars can't be choosers, right? I pulled up to the pump and got out of my car. The air was crisp and an unsettling silence hung over everything. No crickets, no distant traffic, nothing. I swiped my card and started filling up, keeping an eye on the store. Something about this place just felt off. As the pump clicked off, I heard a sound that made my blood run cold. Footsteps coming from behind the store. Slow, dragging footsteps. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding small in the vast emptiness. No response. I quickly replaced the nozzle and screwed my gas cap back on, my heart pounding in my chest. That's when I saw him, an old man, easily in his 80s, shuffling around the corner of the store. He was wearing dirty overalls and a flannel shirt, his white hair wild and unkempt. "You lost, son?" he called out, his voice raspy and dry. I shook my head. "No, sir, just needed some gas. I'll be on my way now." He chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. "Nobody just passes through here. This ain't that kind of place." I forced a smile, trying to keep my voice steady. "Well, I appreciate the hospitality, but I really need to get going." The old man's eyes narrowed. "You sure about that? Roads can be tricky around here at night. Lots of folks end up taking the long way home." Something in the way he said it made my skin crawl. I mumbled a quick thanks and practically dove into my car, locking the doors behind me. As I started the engine, I glanced in my rearview mirror. The old man was gone. I pulled out of the station faster than I probably should have, my tires kicking up gravel. As I merged back onto the highway, I let out a shaky breath. Just a creepy old man, I told myself. Nothing to worry about. That's when I noticed something strange. The GPS on my phone was going haywire, the little blue dot that represented my location jumping all over the place. And the road, it didn't look familiar. Hadn't I just come this way? I tried to calm myself down. It was late, I was tired. I was probably just confused. I decided to pull over at the next rest stop and get my bearings. 15 minutes passed, then 30. The landscape outside my window seemed to blur together, an endless expanse of desert and scrub brush. Where were the mile markers, the exit signs? An hour went by and I still hadn't seen another car or any sign of civilization. The gas gauge, which had been full when I left Roy's, was now hovering just above empty. This was impossible. I'd been driving in a straight line. How could I have used that much gas? Panic started to set in. I fumbled for my phone, ready to call for help, but there was no signal. Of course, that's when I saw it. Another sign for Roy's Gas and Go looming in the distance. My heart sank. How was this possible? I'd been driving for over an hour. As I pulled into the station, everything looked exactly the same. The flickering lights, the single pump, the eerie silence. And there, standing by the store, was the old man. He grinned as I got out of the car, my legs shaky. "Told you, son, folks around here tend to take the long way home." I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came out. The old man's grin widened, revealing teeth that seemed just a little too sharp. "Don't worry," he said, his voice now deeper, inhuman. "You'll get used to it. We all do eventually." As he spoke, I noticed other figures emerging from the shadows behind the store. Men, women, children, all with that same hungry grin, all with eyes that reflected the dim light like animals. I ran. I got in my car and I drove, faster than I've ever driven in my life. But no matter how far or how fast I go, I always end up back at Roy's. Sometimes it takes an hour, sometimes a day, but I always end up back there. I don't know how long it's been now. Days, weeks. The gas gauge never seems to empty completely and I never get hungry or thirsty, I just drive. So if you're out there, somewhere in the desert night, and you see a sign for Roy's Gas and Go, don't stop. Don't even slow down. Because if you do, you might find yourself on the long way home. And trust me, it's a road you don't want to travel.